Here's the truth. Most people think history's fashion was elegant, refined, and practical, but if you and I sat down with any historian who specializes in lived experience, they'd tell you the opposite. They'd tell you that fashion has always been a battlefield of status, survival, and straight-up strange ideas about what the body should look like. So before we dive into the 33 weirdest trends ever recorded, let's start with a hook that weeds out the casual viewers and pulls in those who care about real human history. For about a minute, let's ask the question that serious historians always ask. Why do humans repeatedly reshape their bodies, sometimes painfully, just to communicate identity? What survival function hides beneath the absurd? Why do entire societies agree that crippling footwear, suffocating clothing, or towering headpieces somehow make sense? Understanding these odd practices, well, it really helps you read cultures the same way an anthropologist reads migration patterns. Once you learn to decode extreme fashion, you can decode human behavior across time. That skill matters because, honestly, it tells you how power, gender, class, and even warfare shape trends. And once you understand that, you can apply this knowledge in the field. Whether you're reconstructing historical accuracy, analyzing a primary source, or, assessing how modern societies fall into the exact same traps. Now let's go directly into the history. One of the earliest and, strangest trends began in ancient China with lotus feet. Women's feet were deliberately bound from childhood to create a tiny arched shape that was seen as beautiful and a mark of elite status. This wasn't just a fashion choice. It was a social filter that dictated marriage, class, and mobility. For anyone studying cultural control mechanisms, foot binding shows how fashion becomes a tool of hierarchy. If you're a survivalist or historian working with historical reenactments, studying binding methods shows how restrictive garments alter gait and mobility, which really matters when reconstructing daily life. Moving west, medieval Europe produced the long pointy shoes known as poulaines. Some tips stretched over 20 inches. These weren't just party shoes, they signaled wealth because only the wealthy could afford shoes so impractical that they interfered with walking. If you're analyzing medieval manuscripts or merchant records, spotting poulaines instantly reveals who occupied the upper tier of society. Then there's the towering hennin, the cone-shaped princess hat associated with late medieval noblewomen. It wasn't whimsical, it was a literal vertical display of status. The taller the cone, the wealthier the wearer. Understanding this helps historians decode portraits and even inheritance lists, because hennin size often reflected household resources. Moving into the Renaissance, we hit the codpiece, a padded, exaggerated front attachment worn by European men. It was equal parts ego, symbolism, and storage pocket. When researchers study Renaissance masculinity, the codpiece becomes a perfect case study in how fashion, really magnifies power. The Elizabethans took it even further with ruffs, these enormous circular collars that honestly forced people to hold their heads upright. These collars, they signified control, discipline, and social refinement. If you're reconstructing era-accurate posture in reenactment, the ruff becomes a practical tool for understanding body mechanics of the time. Jump to the 1700s, and you encounter the mountain-sized pannier skirts that widened women's silhouettes by several feet on each side. These garments shaped how women navigated architecture. Doorways had to be widened, seating had to be redesigned. So, understanding pannier width actually helps researchers analyze building layouts and, household traffic patterns. Then, Victorian England delivered both crinolines and bustles, frameworks made of metal or horsehair that, honestly, expanded skirts dramatically. These weren't just harmless fashion quirks. Crinolines caused documented injuries because the skirts were so wide they could, catch fire from open lamps. For survivalist thinkers, this provides a real case study of how fashionable structural materials can create unanticipated physical risks. Victorians also embraced mourning clothing, an entire fashion system tied to death. Black dye, heavy veils, and strict social rules shaped behavior for years at a time. Any historian studying gender and grief knows that mourning fashion was an institution that controlled social roles and emotional expression. Other oddities include the powdered wigs of French courts, shaved eyebrows replaced with mouse fur strips, ancient Egyptian green eye paint made from copper compounds, and early modern lead makeup that slowly poisoned its users. Each trend teaches something different: the politics of beauty, the dangers of toxic materials, and the symbolic value of color. The list continues with Japan's Edo period blackened teeth, the lip plates of Mersey women, the elongated neck rings of the Karen people, medieval chastity belts, flapper era binding 1930s, sun lamps used for tanning, and even the brief 1980s trend of parachute pants. While the cultures differ, the psychological engine is the same. Fashion communicates belonging. So, to apply this historically, you want to start with 3 steps. First, identify the material constraints of the time. Resources, really do dictate fashion. Second, analyze the power structures. Elites, they always exaggerate fashion first. Third, map how trends shift when technology or warfare disrupts the norm. If you follow these, you'll uncover the logic behind even the strangest fashion in the historical record. Fashion has always been, weird, extreme, and surprisingly revealing. And as long as humans seek identity, the strange will always, return. For more in-depth history like this, do subscribe to History Reborn Alive and share this video with someone who appreciates serious research.